All right, today we're diving into the story of a pirate who was so unbelievably powerful, she made entire empires tremble. Okay, let me ask you something. Who do you think was the most successful pirate in all of history? You're probably thinking of someone like Blackbeard, right? Or maybe Calico Jack, some swashbuckling hero from a movie. Well, get ready, because the real story is way, way more interesting than that. Yeah, believe it or not, the most successful pirate ever wasn't a man. It was her, Zheng Yi Sao. And the pirate confederation she commanded, it was so huge it made the navies of most countries look like a bunch of toy boats. Just to give you an idea of the scale we're talking about here, at her peak, Zheng Yi Sao had up to 70,000 pirates under her command. I mean, think about that. That's more than double the number of sailors in the entire British Royal Navy at the time. So the big question is, how on earth did she pull that off? Well, her story doesn't start with some fancy, noble birth or elite military training. Nope, it starts in obscurity, in the coastal province of Guangdong, China, with a name that history almost forgot. Her birth name was Shi Yang, born around 1775. The name we know her by today, Zheng Yi Sao. Well, it literally just means wife of Zheng Yi. And you know what? That marriage back in 1801 was the first move on a chessboard that would change everything. And let's be clear, this was no simple wedding. This was a strategic merger, a power play. Together, she and her husband, Zheng Yi, did something nobody thought was possible. They united all these rival, warring pirate gangs into one single, gigantic confederation. And by 1805, their red flag fleet was the power in the South China Sea, period. But then, just as they'd built this incredible empire, her real test of leadership came. The whole thing was suddenly on the brink of complete and total collapse. So what happened? In 1807, only 6 years into their partnership, her husband Zheng Yi dies, totally unexpectedly. Now, as his widow, everyone just assumed she'd fade away. You know, her power gone along with her husband. But she had very different plans. Look, she could have just accepted her fate and disappeared. But instead, she made an absolutely brilliant political move. She immediately created an alliance with Zhang Bao, her late husband's adopted son and his second-in-command. See, she knew he had the loyalty of the men, and she had the brains to lead them. It was a perfect match. And if you have any doubt about who was really calling the shots, just listen to this. A Qing government official, a guy who actually had to deal with them, later wrote this down. So yeah, Zhang Bao might have been the official commander of the Red Flag Fleet on paper, but everybody knew, everyone knew, Zheng Yi Sao was the one giving the orders. She was, officially, the pirate queen. So, with her power base totally secure, Zheng Yi Sao unleashed the full, terrifying might of her pirate navy on the South China Sea. And we're not talking about a few rogue ships here. Her forces were a legitimate military powerhouse. They went toe-to-toe with the major world powers of the time, and they won. The navies of the Qing Dynasty, the Portuguese Empire, even the mighty British, none of them could stand up to her organized, relentless attacks. Just look at this timeline from 1808 to 1809. It shows this just relentless campaign of conquest. I mean, she didn't just win battles. She absolutely annihilated her opponents. We're talking about clearing the entire Pearl River Delta of government ships and even personally leading charges on the front lines. This wasn't just random piracy anymore, no way. This was organized warfare on an unbelievable scale. But let's not forget, this reign of power came at a staggering human cost. During just one 6-week campaign she ordered in 1809, it's estimated her pirates killed around 10,000 people. She was every bit as ruthless as she was brilliant. But, you know, no empire lasts forever. After years of total domination, the tide started to turn. She was facing a huge blockade from a combined Chinese and Portuguese force, and even worse, betrayal from within her own ranks. Zheng Yi Sao knew the end was coming, but she was not about to get captured. But she didn't just sit back and wait for defeat. Oh no, she seized control of the situation. Picture this. She walks unarmed right into the Governor General's office, not to beg for mercy, not to plead for her life, but to dictate the terms of her own retirement. I mean, just look at this. Compare what usually happens to a pirate with the deal she walked away with. A full pardon, not just for her, but for thousands of her followers. She got to keep all her loot. She was even allowed to keep a personal fleet of ships. And her partner, Zhang Bao, he was given a job in the Chinese Navy. This wasn't a surrender. This was, without a doubt, the greatest retirement plan in the history of piracy. So, what does the world's most successful and feared pirate do once she retires? Well, she pivots, and she proves that her skills were just as deadly in business as they were in battle. After 1810, she settled down in Macau. She traded the wild, chaotic life on the high seas for the hustle and bustle of the city. The Pirate Queen was about to start her second career. And get this, she spent the rest of her life running a very successful gambling house. And she died peacefully in her own bed at the ripe old age of 68. What a quiet, almost normal end to one of the most violent and successful criminal careers the world has ever seen. Now, you might be wondering, how did she keep 70,000 pirates in line? Well, a huge part of her success was this famously strict code of conduct. These weren't suggestions, they were laws, and they covered everything from how to share plunder to how to treat captives, and it created a level of discipline that was just unheard of for pirates. But here's a fascinating little detail that often gets lost in the legend. While she absolutely enforced that code with an iron fist, historical records show it was actually her partner, Zhang Bao, who formally wrote it all down. It's a small detail, sure, but it really shows you just how critical their partnership was to the whole operation. It's really no surprise that a story this amazing continues to inspire people today. I mean, her legacy is everywhere. She's inspired characters in huge movies like Pirates of the Caribbean, shows like Doctor Who and Our Flag Means Death, not to mention tons of books and video games. The legend of the Pirate Queen is definitely alive and well. So that leaves us with one last big question, right? Who was Zheng Yi Sao really? Was she a ruthless criminal, a brilliant strategist, or was she the ultimate survivor who was just playing the hand she was dealt and totally crushed the game? The truth is, she was probably all of those things, and that's exactly what makes her story absolutely one for the ages.